Hello, Tim Gray, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Tim Gray TV. Once again, coming to you from New York City, where I'm addressing a question that was raised by an Ask Tim Gray email newsletter reader. Specifically, they got a new camera, they had a camera strap, and they were wondering, what is this little rubber thing on my camera strap? It obviously looks like it's intended for some use. It almost looks like it could fit on the Flash hot shoe, but it's a little bit too big for that. So what is this thing? Well, it's actually a cover for the viewfinder. We can actually take off the eyepiece of the viewfinder itself, and then we can put this rubber piece in its place. In other words, I'm essentially able to completely block the eyepiece. Well, this is an SLR. Why would I want to block the eyepiece when I need to look through the viewfinder to set up my shot? Well, the idea is that you can use this little cover to cover the eyepiece to prevent any light from coming in through the viewfinder. Now, there's a little bit of folklore, and this does relate to some real scenarios with older cameras, but it's not an issue for today's digital SLRs. But there's some folklore that you need to cover up that viewfinder, especially for long exposures at night, so that you're not letting extra light come in the viewfinder and ruin your photos. But that is not an issue. But it is still a consideration. You might want to cover the viewfinder if you're using your meter to evaluate the scene under dark conditions. If it's a dark scene, but there's maybe a floodlight back behind you, maybe you're at a nice viewpoint looking at a cityscape and there's a light behind you shining some light into that viewfinder, that will not affect your actual photo, but it could affect, it most likely will affect the meter in the camera. And so you'll get an inaccurate meter reading. Now, for me, I generally shoot in manual mode at night. I generally don't make use of the meter really very much at all for night shots. But if you're going to, keep in mind that light coming in through the viewfinder can affect the camera's meter when we essentially have different light, more light coming in through the viewfinder, for example, than we're getting coming in through the lens with a night photograph. So mostly a night photography issue, but something to keep in mind. Just be aware that it is possible for light to come in through the viewfinder and influence the behavior, the reading of your camera's meter. So that's what that little rubber gadget is there for. You could certainly just cover up with your hand. Some photographers will use a piece of gaffer's tape. There's a variety of solutions, but again, it is only affecting, in the case of a digital SLR, only affecting the metering, not the actual photos that you're going to be capturing. Thanks again for tuning in. Keep those questions coming for the Ask Tim Gray email newsletter and for Tim Gray TV, and we'll see you next time.